Hello, everybody, and welcome to Disney's Jungle Book for the Sega Mega Drive.
On the cheats menu!
Yes, in typical Virgin Disney games, there's also a cheat mode, so we're going to use them just to make the playthrough a bit easier. Yes?
Virgin Media. Is this where the whole gamer virgins joke thing originated from?
No, Jovan, no, absolutely
basically,
not.
Basically, Virgin is a company, mostly around here in Britain, that has its fingers in all sorts of stuff: phones, TV, etc.
Dreams.
I've actually got Virgin TV at my house.
I see.
Virgin Interactive Entertainment presents a game made by Eurocom. So yeah.
Before you asked Jovan, no, Virgin TV is not one channel, basically, with Virgin.
And yes, Disney software. So this was one of the first, actually, to have the Disney animators from do the animation. Our tale begins when Bagheera first heard a strange sound.
With that face.
It's a screenshot from the movie. This actually looks really good for the time. The sound came from a man cub mashed up inside a little boat. It actually looks really good. Yeah, Bagheera knew that the village was too far for the man cub. He took the man cub to a den of wolves who raised him, instead of eating him for some reason.
Yeah, because...
You'd be surprised, it happens in real life.
Years passed and news came that Shere-Khan had returned.
He returned from his vacation off, and let's start the game.
They continue explaining more when we actually start the game proper.
Walt Disney's classic.
I love how the instruction page is called Bare Necessities.
But yes, Jungle Book. For those who may know, this was the last movie released by Disney while Walt was still alive.
Yes.
So essentially the last movie of the Silver Age. Oh.
In fact, remember that what the fuck ending where Mowgli decides to go to the man village because of, hormones? That was Walt's idea.
Yeah,
Mowgli begins his journey to find the man village.
I had the misfortune to actually read the book when I was in school. It's kind of a break to get through. It doesn't really help that Rudyard Kipling was kind of a pro-colonialism, so there's also a bit of unfortunate implications in that. Basically, the movie kinda bridges half of the events of a book. The movie. There you go. So, then again, Disney took liberties as well on that front.
Believe it or not, the live-action Jungle Book adaptation is a bit more faithful.
The overall climax in general is actually more faithful to the book.
Actually, has anyone actually seen instead the Netflix version, the one with Andy Serkis? How is it? Because there was a huge marketing for it in my country, but I never actually saw it.
I prefer it more than the live-action Jungle Book movie from Disney.
Hold on, wait. Wasn't that supposed to be a Warner Brothers version?
Yeah,
yes, but it was still on Netflix. Exclusive.
Yeah, Warner lost faith and put it on Netflix. But yeah, basically, yeah, I did like Mowgli for what that was trying to do. That was trying to be a more
faithful adaptation to the book. Yeah, it was basically. Andy Serkis is a big fan of the book, and he's always wanted an adaptation that was much more faithful, and that's why. And so that was kind of a passion project of his. Go ahead.
Was it good?
I haven't actually seen it, so
I thought it was okay.
I guess I'll have to give that a watch at some point.
So yeah, Jungle Book is kind of a DuckTales style platformer. Instead of being like Aladdin, where the levels are much more linear on an A to B structure, this one is much more of a collect-a-thon type of 2D platformer, much like DuckTales. You go around and collect jewels until the game tells you you're done, basically. So basically, explore, because the levels, as you can see, are very open-ended, and find all the necessary items so that you can, as the game put it, find Bagheera and the end, and the level. Right now, we're just kind of playing because, the game is basically giving you this level as a way so you can familiarize yourself with the controls.
A literal jungle gym.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And there's his elephant friend. There you go. He works as the checkpoint of the game. There's Bagheera.
Go on.
Jova, I found out the reason why Mowgli was shipped to Netflix.
Okay.
Well, in addition to them fearing that there were going to be a lot of comparisons to the Disney live-action Jungle Book film, Pan happened.
Yeah, there's that too.
Oh,
Which was
makes sense.
I guess that sort of made them lose faith in the fairy tale or Disney. Well, you
No,
know,
The not
Channel.
Disney genre.
Yeah, basically,
much, yeah.
basically, yeah. This is a bonus
Also, I
level
love
where you
the-
just
I love
collect
how
things
Mo-
and that's it, really.
I love how Mowgli's portrait, your life bar on the top right corner, looks deeply concerned.
That's
I'm going to lose a life.
that's the interesting thing too. This is a Eurocom game, and you can tell the same guys who made Spot Goes to Hollywood, and you can tell. Because you can tell this game is actually running on the same engine. Well, hold on. Mowgli reaches the great tree where Kaa, the snake, awaits. And that's it. Basically, this level is the level where you actually find the boss battle against Kaa. There you go. Find Kaa right there.
You actually get to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, gotta have boss battles too. But anyway, yeah. This, you can tell this was made on the same engine that would later power up Spot Goes to Hollywood, because the HP tail works exactly the same. See, when you get hurt, Mowgli's icon, it's literally like it's a container draining its liquid, you know. And if you don't remember, that's how Spot's icon in Spot Goes to Hollywood also works. So you can tell this is from the same engine that Eurocom would use later for Spot Goes to Hollywood. So it's interesting there. Anyway, there's an interesting part of when it comes to the development history of this game. This game started off its development as a game made by David Perry's team. And you can tell because look at that awesome sprite animation. Yeah, these are definitely look like sprite animations by Mike Dietz, definitely. However, there was one particular thing. After they finished off early development, the basic sprite pipeline and the overall stuff, and so they were about to start full-blown development of making the levels and such. Disney, that were at the moment looking for a different developer to make their Aladdin game because Blue Sky Studios wasn't really working. They looked at the early prototype of this game and looked, wow, these guys are doing a great job in capturing Disney animation look. Let's talk to them, see if they're interested in making the Aladdin game. And after they talked to them and noticed how passionate they were about the idea, they asked, and as part of the Virgin contract, they were taking off this project so they could make the Aladdin game, since that was the bigger priority.
Keep in mind also, this was made before the Disney animators came on board to help the Virgin out with their games, so...
Yeah, well,
pretty good.
The Disney animators, as you saw earlier there in the credits, did end up doing the animation for stuff as well. It said right there in the beginning, Disney software. Any of these older Disney games that has Disney software among the credits, that means that they were using their own animators to do the whole animation pipeline thing. But Mike Dietz was the first one that really showed how possible it was to do. Because remember, when Aladdin started production, as we saw in the behind the scenes videos that we commented on, when Mike Dietz got brought on to animate these Disney Aladdin, he went to the Disney studios in California to teach the Disney animators how you do animation for a game. So what you're seeing here is a result of those little classes that Mike Dietz taught the Disney animators. So they took those lessons and applied them here for this game, and later Lion King and Hercules and all that stuff, and Mickey Mania.
Now, one issue with this game I can see is that your attacks are very limited, and by that I mean straight horizontal movement, which, for a game with this much diagonal slopes is probably not a good idea.
And enemies that are shorter than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell that, don't get me wrong, I like Eurocom, but they're not quite as good the developers as David Perry and his team are. But, however, this is still a good game for what it is, especially considering how... Yeah, yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, this was also sort of Virgin's... Well, this was their first Disney game, right?
Technically, yes. Yes, it was.
Okay, so... Yeah, it definitely doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that would make, stuff like Aladdin or Lion King definitely very good. Like, those have multiple means of attacks, or at the very least attacks that cover enough of an area so that, you can pretty much handle enemies here and whatnot. Yep. This one, just a simple banana and boomerang throw.
before the Virgin deal was made, Disney would just accept licensing deals from developers who were interested, and companies overall who were interested. And Virgin was the one that took an interest in making a Jungle Book game because, as Mike Dietz said in the behind-the-scenes video that we made, Jungle Book is Mike Dietz's favorite Disney movie. So this was kind of a passion thing for him as well. So yeah, Chapter 3, The Dawn Patrol. It's actually my favorite part of the movie, actually. So cool. The Dawn Patrol help the man Cub through the jungle.
Quite different from the movie, but okay.
Well, we had to abridge this for gameplay convenience. So
no. I mean, like, well, that never even happened in the movie. Is the thing?
Well, we're taking liberties, goddammit.
Yes, we are. I mean,
to be honest, it's been eons since I saw the movie. I don't think Mowgli interacts with the elder.
Look at the animation there. Yeah, you can definitely tell the pipeline was created by Mike Dietz. Look at that; it looks so good.
Oh yeah, it does. But yeah, Tio, in regards to this, Mowgli, I think, did interact with the older elf.
Because he makes friends with the little guy. I remember that, but I don't remember if he talks to the bigger ones. Again, being eons since I watched the movie.
That said, though, from what I can tell in this game, there's not even really an effort to try and take Mowgli back to the Man Village, as was in the original movie. It just seems to be just Mowgli chilling and, oh, Shere-Khan made it back, but...
Throwing fruits around the local fauna. Jesus Christ. This is not jungle, this is a war zone.
And they're in my way and they have to go.
Yeah. We still got a good game at the end of the day, but it is interesting to think what this game might have been like if David Perry and his team had stuck making the entire thing.
How much of the work would you say was left over?
Like I said, Mike Dietz came up with the overall animation pipeline. That's why it looks so good. And the overall conceptual work was done. Like the actual levels were about to start getting made. They were literally about to start full production. And that's when Disney thought, you know what? We want you guys to focus on Aladdin because that's our biggest priority in terms of the video games right now. So
it's basically a case like where the whole thing was pretty much planned out. It's just that they needed another company to actually
finish it. Yeah, Eurocom is one that actually finished the game. That's because Disney was very specific to Virgin. We want your best developers working on the Aladdin game. Well, that would be David Perry and his team. Yes, so they were assigned to it. There you go. It's like I said in our Aladdin commentary. After the fiasco that was the Fantasia Mega Drive game, Disney was very adamant about what they said to Virgin. We don't want decent, we want brilliant. So, Chapter 4.
What was the last one that went badly again?
Fantasia.
We talked about it. Oh God, Baloo, what happened?
Mowgli makes his way down the river where he. Well, that's actually a screenshot from the movie too. So see,
is that okay? I get the idea that taking these freeze frames like this out of context, was not such a good idea.
Well, remember too, that was back in the day where if there was an animation mistake, it would cost millions to go back and fix it. So most of the time, these animation mistakes were left in.
Oh, even nowadays it is somewhat expensive to go back and fix certain animation mistakes.
With digital animation, it's much easier because they have tools that are made for that specific purpose. It's when you draw and animate on paper. Now that was a lot more time-consuming and costly. So
this is why stuff being hand-drawn, but using stuff like tablets or whatnot is a lot better than stuff hand-drawn on paper. Like, okay, hand-drawn animation as it is now is a lot more convenient considering this out, at least from what I've seen from behind-the-scenes stuff. When stuff is hand-drawn these days, it's done on like a tablet or computer. It's still hand-drawn, it just skips the middleman of needing to cut down trees to add on to the work.
And because it's, again, like I said...
And it saves a lot of money on ink.
Not just that, it also... Well, that's the thing. Yeah, of course, it's much more eco-friendly, and of course, since it's technically digital, it allows for those tools that allow to easily correct animation gaps. Of course, you lose that bit where digital ink and paint is still... When you compare it to normal ink and paint, there's always that artificial element compared to it, because it will... But, again, it's one of those trade-offs where it all depends on where you stand.
There are some things where they are able to basically simulate the look of the hand-drawn paper.
That is true.
Too, using visual effects here and there. There are some that do it better than others.
Yeah, that is true. I still have no idea how the LOLM makes their animes look so good. Like, I mean, I'm assuming they use modern digital techniques, and yet their animes look so good. Like, I mean, for as much as I don't like let's say the Ni no Kuni movie, for as much as I don't like that movie, the animation looks gorgeous. Like, absolutely gorgeous. It looks hand-drawn on paper. If it is cool, well, cool. If it isn't, then they did a fantastic job hiding the fact that it's digital. I don't know what the hell they do over there, but seriously, they should have a... Do they have an animation equivalent of GDC? Something where the animators go and talk about their techniques and share it with the world or something?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were.
I would love it if whoever's in charge of animating at OLM did something like that, you know, because I would love to know what do they use to make something like an anime look like it. Like
what the fuck?
Well, Mowgli just died.
A good example that I can use. You'll notice, Theo, that those are the exact same type of death animations we saw in Aladdin. So yeah. You can tell this started its life as a David Perry game.
Oh, jeez.
Basically, had to be Fortunately, I was still able to trigger the end of the level, so even though I died, I still completed the level. So
that is surprisingly merciful of the game developers.
Chapter 5: Baloo and the River. So there you go. The icon.
Baloo like a boat.
Baloo helps the man cub finish his journey along the river.
I love how Mowgli is never called by name, and has never been until this point.
Well, actually, they did say Mowgli before, didn't they? I think one of the previous scenes
right.
said Mowgli.
No, you're right. One of the descriptions on like the first level, I think.
Yeah.
My bad.
But yeah, here's of course the iconic scene from the movie Bare Necessities.
What does the compass do?
It tells you where to go for jewels, I guess. I never really figured out all the way. Usually I just explore and look for jewels. Basically, it's relatively easy to do so anyway. So.
How many do you usually need anyway to...
10. It's always said at the beginning.
Depends on
10 gems.
Depends on your difficulty, Jova. I'm using the cheat find one gem just to make it easier on me, but I still go out of my way to explore. As you saw before, but trust me, this level is just more jungle aspects, and at this point I figured we could use a change of scenery, so let's just skip the more climbing trees and vines, because it's literally just a recaller at this point. Come on, let's move on, game. Chapter 6, the Tree Village. Not the Man Village, the Tree Village, not to be confused.
That's totally different thing.
Mowgli, there you go, Theo. Mowgli gets lost in the tree village as his journey continues. Again, we have to kind of find more excuses to pad out the game. So,
what exactly is his journey game anyway?
Yeah, Joe, the way you said that, I keep thinking, what is there a prequel to the Thief of the Journey series now?
Mowgli's journey?
Sure.
Yeah, basically, Mowgli decided for no reason at all to become a footballer, even though football hadn't been invented yet.
You know, it's funny you mention that, because Mondo TV have kind of made a series where Disney knockoff characters play in the World Cup series.
And it even has its own cinematic universe.
Yeah, and basically the one
oh boy, not Disney, not FIFA cinematic universe.
It's terrible. Believe
let me put it like this: it's literally Simba, Bambi, and heck, they're called that by name, and some other characters.
It's
by
terrible.
The way,
it really is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, this is after a series that had Simba having to kill Shere-Khan, who murdered his father.
Then there was the entire subplot where it was revealed to be like a demigod, the son of celestial beings. Yes, I'm not even joking.
Oh god, the Mondo TV.
Because what happened,
universe?
Mondo TV? Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, Mondo TV. I thought it was silly enough with your Titanic movies, but no, you thought...
No, Joe, but like I told, there was a time where these guys were actually super cool and actually did
my introduction
to do anime.
My introduction to Mondo TV was their Zorro anime, their commissioned Zorro anime.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. That one's actually pretty good.
The one where Zorro was blonde.
Honestly, too, I'll still take it because they do such a good job with it anyway.
Really was cool. I remember that too. Yeah.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Coming back to it, I couldn't believe that those were the same people. But yeah, they did make the Zorro anime, and it's pretty good, actually.
Well, remember, Jova, they didn't actually make it themselves. They commissioned...
Tatsunoko did it. Again, Mondo TV did ask to, mostly to Tatsunoko, a bunch of different animes based on actual fairy tales, because they wanted to actually promote that for the Italian market. But while they were at it, they were like, well, our country actually has deals with anime companies, so why not actually, help that. So we were like Zorro, there was one about Snow White, one about Cinderella, I think. There was, I don't remember if the Peter Pan one was actually commissioned by Mono TV, but could have been. Zorro, of course. There was Robin Hood, the one of those was Robin Hood, actually. Yeah, no, but I think it's done by someone else. But again, I'll need to check again because it's been a long time since I watched it.
To bring this,
can anime actually get an English dub?
I don't know.
I think
go
so.
ahead, Pedro.
To bring this a bit more on topic, Shiroi, what is your experience with Disney's Jungle Book?
The movie, and that's about it.
Did you like the? Well, what do you think of the movie?
It's fine.
Did you see the sequel?
Yes.
It's okay. It's not as terrible as some Disney other sequels that I can mention, but it's very unnecessary and kind of pointless. Really, it's mostly just a rehash of the first movie.
It's almost all of the other Disney sequels.
Okay, Jova, that is a bit generalizing, but it's not lying completely. A lot of the Disney sequels, direct-to-video sequels, when they're not just bad, they really do feel like they're pointless.
Okay. Let me just tell my stance on this.
Whoa, hello.
The Witch Doctor, aka Free Monkeys, acting as a witch doctor. That's the boss for this game.
When it comes to sequels, I mean, you could pretty much argue that a sequel in general is pointless. So, like, my stance is always, oh, did this really need to happen? So much as, was it actually good? Now, granted, there are some cases. Now, there are some cases where I pretty much am all for, okay, yeah, this really didn't need to happen, like, say, the Terminator franchise. But when it comes to a lot of Disney sequels, I do think that there is potential for them. It's just that potential is not always met properly. Yeah,
it's one of those things where
I mean, especially, it's even more egregious with the Disney ones, especially considering that for a lot of them, the sequel gap was considerably huge. Like, imagine you were waiting all that time for a Cinderella 2, only for it to turn out to be a lame TV series.
Not just. I didn't even have to mention that. I didn't even have to mention that, Webs. Back in the mid 2000s, they were making a Dumbo 2 that got cancelled when John Lasseter became the head of Walt Disney Animation Studios. So
not only that, they were gonna make a Snow White and Pinocchio sequel. Like, okay, let me put it this: the only sequel that was considered off limits at the time was a Sleeping Beauty sequel, because
even that didn't stick.
Really trusted that.
Although to be fair, I actually really did enjoy Bambi 2 for what it was worth.
Yeah, Bambi 2 is good. I like Bambi 2.
I love Cinderella 3.
What's great about that one too? What I love about Bambi 2 is that it's not so much a sequel, more like an addendum to the original film.
It's an interquel.
It basically expands upon it takes place in between that period between that mom and now he's an adult, and actually. And expands more upon what that potential. Okay, there's that missed gap in the original film that could potentially be explored, and that's what the filmmakers did, and that was actually a really good idea. Go ahead.
Plus, it helps make the time skip a lot less awkward, because in the original film, it was like, oh, it's had this doom and gloom, Bambi's mum.
Well, remember, Don Bluth did the same thing in.
Land Before Time.
In Land Before Time, dead mom, and then all of a sudden a little baby pterodons fighting over fruit.
Yes, and it was just as weird there as it was in Bambi.
I just remember a lot of the Disney sequels that were around when I was growing up, where the whole character grows up and goes to this place, but their child wants to go back to the place where the parent came from.
Little Mermaid 2, yeah.
What was it, Lady and the Tramp too?
Yeah. Also, not to mention the weird, sometimes very weird, questionable celebrity casting. I still understand on what kind of satanic deal we managed to convince George Carlin to be in the Tarzan interquel.
Well, to be fair, Tio, it's not the first time George Carlin popped up in something unexpected.
I know, the last role of his career was never... Oh, wait, well, okay, that's the thing, though. If you actually watched, well, we probably did, but if someone has watched some of George Carlin's stand-up comedy routine, him being cast for a Disney movie feels something that he probably would have hated with a passion. So I get the idea, man, that it was at the point where like, well, I'm old, you're probably gonna need, to please my nephews and something.
Well, hold on, Teo. Are you actually assuming that, or did George Carlin actively voice this distaste for Disney movies?
Well, not Disney. Again, it's assuming, but that's mostly because it's not specific to Disney in general. But Carlin rejected, type of media society as a whole. The kind of consumerism that you see, for example, in Disney, associated to Disney media these days.
Yet he was in Happily Never After.
Yeah,
I really don't get that either.
Well, remember too, Robert De Niro thought Dirty Grandpa was a good idea. So when people get older, they lose their judgment. That's the basic gist of it.
I suppose.
No, I mean it's because at the same time, remember, like the last person back in the early '90s you would think to be in a Disney comic relief role was Gilbert Gottfried. Because for those who don't know, if you actually watch Gilbert Gottfried's stand-up, he's one of the raunchiest comedians you'll see. I assure you. You probably saw that meme clip of the "What an asshole." Trust me, he's got more.
Oh god! So do you actually get to fight King Louis in this game?
Yes. Mowgli must find King Louis. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, we're taking advantage of the King Louis kidnapping to have him go through these ruins and platforms.
Evolution.
It's one of those cases where, again, the developers have to extend / take liberties to make sure that the game is not too short. So.
Oh, sorry. For a second, the game over screen. For a second, there, I thought it was going to be like that bit in the Home Improvement Super Nintendo game.
It has a similar vibe, Glims.
Yeah, this level.
That game that takes place on a film set.
Yeah.
This level is platforming is much more traditional in terms of design. It's literally just platforms. Just jump from a platform to a platform. So this level is definitely much more straightforward compared to some of the previous ones. Probably.
You can see for a lot of them you cannot just stand on your toes. You gotta be quick on the feet.
Fortunately, if you go back and the platforms do respawn, so the developers, again, the game is competent.
Well, it's a reverse Contra syndrome. You were asking the other day, Pedro, if you found an example where it works. I guess in a sort of reverse way we found one.
Yeah, no, this game does not. Well, it wouldn't even make any sense for this game to have Contra syndrome because this game is mostly about exploration anyway.
No, like I said, I reverse one. When something disappears off screen and then you get back to it, it actually reappears.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I said, it wouldn't really. It would be incredibly stupid on them to have Contra syndrome in a game where you're supposed
to.
Well, I guess. Whatever. But yeah, the basic gist of it is just, what would a platform game be without the platforms? Well, this level literally takes that quote and runs with it. This level is nothing but platforms, as you can see.
When did this game come out?
1991, I think. No, I think it was earlier than. It came out before Aladdin, or was it after? Well, somewhere. Let me double check the timeline real quick. Go ahead. While I check this.
I found it. 1994. So basically, this game answered that question 2 years before Bubsy 3D even asked it.
Sure. There you go, too.
King Louis is surprisingly smaller than he was in the movie.
Cars shrunken.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
Well, actually. Yeah, I guess he kind of is. Yeah.
Look, and I know that in the live-action movie it's much more gigantic, but I'm talking about the actual, animated movie. I remember it being still, bigger than Mowgli.
I'm guessing. They wanted to make sure not make him too big because it would make it hard to jump over him and shit.
It's like Castlevania. You can hit only in the head.
Well, more like over him. See, like that, like what I just did. If he was, maybe they were thinking, okay, if we make him actual proportionate like he is in the movie, we'll not be able to jump over him, and the boss will be impossible. So let's take some liberties with his design here.
I don't know, for some reason he looks like one of the monkeys.
Oh no, he's going apeshit.
Wow! Just by banging on the floor, he was able to bring down his entire temple. And I guess
predicting the live-action movie.
And I guess he decided, well, a captain goes down with his ship, or in this case, ruins.
Damn new evolution.
Chapter 9: Jungle at Night. Night falls as Mowgli's journey nears its end, and you forgot an apostrophe there.
Oh wait, now you're calling it Mowgli again.
It's inconsistent. Fine tension. Well, to be fair, there are no other man cubs in this game anyway, so it's not like you can possibly confuse this man cub with another man cub. So.
Unless, well, didn't Jungle Book 2 do that, or am I getting it mixed up?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
but that movie only came out years after this game.
Yeah. But also, I remember, I mentioned this a couple of times, I think, in the past, but there was also another adaptation, not by Disney, mind you, that I remember watching when I was a teenager. It was a live-action series. I think it was slightly more based on the book, but only in a broad way. It started kind of as a sequel to the Disney movie because it had Mowgli actually in the village, actually helping the humans against, for example, the English, the Brits. And there was this overarching villain. There was this guy. I think it was like a Lord of War, a warlord. That always had this fucking chess motif. In each episode, he compared all the situations that were happening with a chess match, and every time that he lost, he was like, "Oh, it's like it's."
Shere-Khan waits at the end of the wasteland before the man village.
So we've been trying to get away from Shere-Khan, but let's go right towards him.
Might as well.
Well, to be fair, that's what Mowgli does in the movie as well.
Let's do this.
So what happened? Did he get lost and end up going back the same way?
Well, in the movie, Mowgli tries to make his stand against Shere-Khan because he's not having any of his crap. You know, because so sucks for you, Shere-Khan. I'm on top of the food chain. So.
You know, it's a good job. It's a good job no one's tried to...
What is the owl from Bambi doing here?
Yeah, I gotta say, it's a good job no one's...
Easter egg, too.
You killed him!
It's a good job no one's tried to adapt the Jungle Book in a more modern setting. Because, like Mowgli would just have a gun and just shoot him.
It just wouldn't work, Libs. Also, to be fair, Libs, it was done...
Well, try telling that to the people who made that recent Oliver Twist...
Okay, also, first, I don't know much about that. The second, the setting actually takes place during the occupation, of India from the Brits, which means gunpowder was really a thing. In fact, it was the entire reason why, the population of India rebelled in the first place. Because the Brits were literally using cartridges that you had to bite, and they contained animal fat that, their religion, was not, akin to. So there was that.
Basically, yeah. Alright. So yeah, let's go. This is, of course, one of the last level, and again, it perfectly reflects the mood and the overall lighting of this scene from the movie. So, So again, while by no means the best of the Disney tie-in games, this is definitely perfectly servable for what it wants to do. The animation looks gorgeous as expected, and the levels are very explorers, which makes it stand out from the other linear Disney games at the time. So yeah, I think the game ends up working really well in the end. While by no means the most memorable, and I can definitely see why this is one of the least talked about ones of the Virgin lineup, because yeah, this game kind of fell in between, because at the time the much more successful Aladdin and Lion King games. However, it's still pretty good for what it is. So again, if you're into this kind of platformer, the DuckTales type of 2D platformer, where it's more about exploring the level rather than going from A to B. Go ahead.
Sorry, my video kind of buffered. What time are you guys at?
44:43.
Go to 35, 15 or something.
35 on the dot.
All right. Just a moment.
So,
You know, don't worry, you're not missing anything. All right, get ready and click. Anyway.
Ironically, Pedro, from what you said, it seems like this game was supposed to have come out before either of those games, but, you know, due to this or that, you know, obviously it had to come out after Aladdin.
Yeah, Disney was very specific, Jova. Best developers working on Aladdin. Get somebody else to make Jungle Book.
It's like how the developers of Bubsy 3D thought that they were going to be the first ever 3D game platformer. Little did they know that Super Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot were kind of ahead of them on that.
So Shere-Khan manages to shoot supersonic waves from his mouth in this.
Of course.
And hitting him enough time makes his tail go on fire. By hitting him with bananas.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
What were in those bananas?
I don't want.
I guess.
I don't want to know.
Oh, Tommy Tallarico was still a composer for these, but...
I'll get to that too. As our story comes to a close, Mowgli makes his way through the final stretches journey towards the Man Village. In reaching that place where he belongs, Mowgli cannot help thinking, as Baloo did, that he would have made one swell bear. Ha 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 ha. The little girl was singing a song about the village.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it was more about how her life kind of sucked.
So yeah, there's actually an extra level.
Yes, now we have to get to the little girl. I find it interesting how, there you go.
Oh.
And that's it.
I failed to realize why that needed to be a level, but whatever.
Gameplay interaction.
But can you do it on the hard level, Pedro?
but at the very least, the game doesn't deprive me of the ending, so there's that.
I was actually gonna wonder, what if, like, on the hard version, that last level is actually incredibly tough?
No, it's not. I checked, but to answer Teo's question, yes, Tommy Tallarico. Oh, there you go. Game design. David Perry is included among the design credits, since he was the one who came up with the overall basic game design. And there's Mike Dietz in the animation. However, the rest of the animators are all the Eurocom staff, you know, since they were following up. And Nick Broody, also from David Perry's team, who did the background art, or at least started. And there you go, music by Tommy Tallarico and Eurocom's composers. Basically, Tommy Tallarico set up the overall technology involving, you know, converting the Disney songs into good sounding Mega Drive tunes, and he just handed his work to the Eurocom staff, and they just took it from there. So basically, Tommy prepped up everything. Here's what you guys need to do to make the song sound good in the Mega Drive, and they just went from there, basically. That's why the music sounds so good.
24-hour
test crew.
Playtester who could not sleep.
So does this game? So this game actually had
John Williams.
So you're telling me that this game had a crunch period in a time where crunch periods were not so much a thing as they are now?
I wonder if it's a special term for something.
Maybe.
Seems weird that, and besides, if it were crunch, it would seem weird for them to advertise crunch like that. I mean, games at the time were much easier to make, so I don't think it was quite on that level. But that's the Jungle Book game. Duez, what do you think?
It's alright. Again, yeah.
Oh, hold on, Dibs. Special thanks to John Williams.
Yeah,
there you
like
go.
I mentioned, John Williams is apparently involved in this game. Oh, Steve
it's a John
without an H.
It's John without the H, so it's a different John. But anyway, again, it looks alright. I'm not exactly. I'm not really good at these kinds of games, so I won't say too much. It does look fun.
All right. All right, Teo, what do you think?
Sure, it's fine for what it is. Being a
man.
I mean, it makes more sense.
Right,
okay.
Yeah, because that's the final lyrics from The Bare Necessities.
I didn't remember that, but yeah, it still makes more sense about that Easter egg in the PlayStation 1 Jungle Book dancing game, where you get a remix on I Want to Be Like You made by that rapper. I don't remember his name. But no, it's fine for what it is. It's it's functional, but it being a first time for this kind of animation, I'm fine. It's actually really good, but Mowgli's face feels a bit off. But again, it was kind of like one of its first of its kind. So again, I'm willing to give it a pass. As for the rest, it's very basic. It's it's serviceable for what it is. So no real major complaints. It's interesting. Again, Disney had a bunch of games based on their movies, their older movies. Done with the advent of the new console generations of the Super Nintendo and Genesis Mega Drive to capitalize on that. And again, this is another one which I think works, for what it wants to do. Next.
All right, Shiro, what do you think?
It's fine. It's as short as it needed to be. I mean, the story isn't really that expansive. The animation looks really nice, considering this was without Disney's assistance, right?
No, it was actually. This was one of the.
Yeah.
Well, this was
not like direct level. Remember, we did not have at that point the Disney animators actually doing the sprites.
Mm-hmm.
But they ended up making it too, because you can see that at the beginning with the credited by Disney style. Because remember, this game came out in 1994, 2 years after the Aladdin game. By that point, remember, Teo, this thing was kind of put on the back burner because the game was kind of left without a developer at the time, so they had to wait for Eurocom to be free to finish this game. So
it's interesting that despite the fact that they ended up being okay, there was the risk of essentially turning both projects sour as a result. Because remember, with the Aladdin game, David Perry and his team had little to no, time to do it, and barely knew anything about the story. And this one instead was handled to a bunch of developers that only had to rely on pre-existing work done by someone else. So there was an actual risk involved here, but they still managed to pull it through. Interesting.
Well, I guess it's one of those cases where David Perry's team's talent really saved that game. Basically, it really, remember too, like we've said in the commentary, that game has no right being as good as it is, considering when you know about the development history, considering the tight deadline they had. It was purely the fact that that was an incredibly talented team working at the peak of their abilities, and that's what saved that game. Whereas Eurocom is a good developer, don't get me wrong, but they're not on that level. Continue, Shiroi.
I mean, it looks good, all things considered, like outside of the animations. The music sounds okay, and that's it.
Alright, Jova.
Yeah, it seems like a perfectly fine game. Probably not really my thing, because, 2D collectathons, not really my thing.
Not really a fan. You're more of a Sonic Mario guy than a DuckTales guy. I'm assuming.
Okay. DuckTales, I actually do enjoy that. I mean, I'll just say this. On principle, I'm not the biggest fan of collectathon games, and I'll admit, more often than not, the ones I have played are less fun. That's not to say that I can't get an occasional good one, like DuckTales or
Super Mario Odyssey, like you mentioned before.
Absolutely, Super Mario Odyssey, yeah. 3D Mario games in general. But
have you played the Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie games?
A long time ago, yeah. I enjoyed them fine enough.
Because those are really good as well, yeah.
But yeah, overall, this game seems fine. Definitely not the best Disney game, but hey, given its placement and stuff, it's technically the first one made, although not the first one released in that regard. So I can see why it would come off looking lesser, seeing as how it technically came out after Aladdin.
Yeah, this game technically started development in 1992, but only released 2 years later because of the whole switch in developers, and they had to kind of figure that out. So it was kind of interesting.
So in a sense, it kind of comes off as the sophomore slump, where the stuff before and after it pretty much kicked its butt to the curb overall. Because Aladdin and Lion King are way, way better.
They are.
For obvious reasons, but, still. Overall, though, the game seems fine.
Alright, as for me, like I said, yeah, the game is perfectly serviceable for what it is. I can see why they went for the collectathon angle, because if they made this a more linear, smaller level of A to B structure, the game would have been shorter than it needed to be to meet the price tag. So I can tell why they did it. They went because if they went for a collectathon style of level structure, it would have made so that the game would last longer and therefore be more worth your money. So I can definitely understand. Not to mention, the Jungle Book movie doesn't really give that much room because it's kind of a short Disney movie and it doesn't have that much because most of the movie is walking. I mean, yeah, there's moments of course for set pieces, but not as much as other Disney movies. So I can definitely understand why they needed to, think around the limitations they had. So yeah, and I think they succeeded well enough. It's a perfectly serviceable game for what it is. It's fine. It works well as intended. The animation looks great, of course, but considering who started this development, that's not a surprise at this point. So yeah, really, really enjoyable. For the next Disney game we're gonna do, maybe not immediately, but for next I was planning on trying out that Lion King game that Jova has mentioned a few times.
Adventure.
Yes, it's a game that Jova made me curious about, so tune in next time in the Disney lineup to see exactly what the heck that game is all about exactly. So,
yeah.
Should be interesting. See ya.